one of the things I like to ask people is why you're doing what you're doing. Because you made a natural transition from youth pastor to insurance agent, just the same way I made a natural transition from bread delivery guy to insurance agent.
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
We got to the point. I still remember there was a night, we got a phone call. I oversaw, well, let me back up a little bit. I thought I was going to be a youth pastor for life. I felt called to it. I think it was my freshman, sophomore year of high school. It was probably my sophomore year. I think I was a counselor in training out at Camp Shiloh. And I just remember God speaking very clearly to me and just saying, I want you to impact kids. I want you to be involved. And I loved camp ministry. I loved everything about it. I was like, I'm going to be, this is a route I'm going to go. I went to school for a year. I was chasing, trying to play baseball. And I always joke with everyone. I go, I threw, I think I topped out about 90, 91 miles an hour. But every 15-year-old kid in the Dominican Republic that's 6'5" throws 95 plus. And so the chances of me making were very good. I was going to school down at Western Baptist College in Salem, Oregon. And my wife and I had met before I moved down there to go. And church had offered me a job when I came back, I think that Christmas, maybe it was early that summer, saying, hey, we're interested in having you. You've been connected with Camp Shiloh and some other stuff. You've served in our junior high ministry. We'd like to offer you a part-time job. You can do some schooling and then roll into a full-time job. And that was at First Reformed Church here in Linden, where my wife and I still attend and are involved. And so I kind of hung up the cleats and jumped into that and did that for a long time, but it was a grind. And
people don't really think about ministry as a grind.
Yeah, it's a grind. I mean, when I joke, we're in a very different financial spot than we were back then, but we still get PTSD sometimes when we go to the grocery store and you put your debit card in and you wonder if it's going to be declined or not. and I tell this to you, I think it's extremely healthy for kids who grow up in a family that maybe isn't struggling financially, for them to get out on their own and be extremely poor. Mm-hmm. I think it's healthy for their marriage. I think it's healthy for their perspective on life and an attitude of gratitude. And I also think it's extremely healthy for them to realize that you should live your life with your hands open, not like this and just hold on to your own stuff. Mm-hmm. Because when you do this, it also prevents God from putting blessings back into your hand. But it's important that you use those to bless other people in your community. And so we were in, youth ministry for 8-9 years. And it just got really hard to support a family on a youth pastor's salary. Church couldn't do much more at the time. And I was selling sporting goods for Cloud9 Sports. I coached baseball at Nooksack High School at the time. I coached a bunch of middle school sports just to make ends meet. And got to a point where we were going to accept a position. We were going to move down to Arizona. I was going to accept a position on a coaching, D1 coaching staff down there, and then work for Fellowship Christian Athletes part-time. And then the head coach got fired. And I saw it on ESPN. That's how I found out. And I called someone and they kind of confirmed everything. And so I was like, well, God closed that door. And I was coaching high school baseball at Nooksack at the time. And my assistant coach was an insurance, Leonard Smith, who's an insurance agency owner here. And he kind of got me into it and said, I think you'd be good at this, and kind of fell into it like a lot of people do. Yeah. And then once you get into it, you never leave because the industry's steady. And so, there's high school kids or college kids out there, like the insurance industry is so broad and stable. Mm-hmm. It's a great industry to be in. And that's kind of how I came about it and got into it. So
insurance is one of those things that's kind of cool because I tell people this all the time. The thing I love and the thing I hate about insurance are the same, is that you'll never know it all.
Yeah.
Right.
And like it changes every day.
Right. Like I find that I love that part because it's challenging.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just like my prior job. I worked at Wonder Bread and I delivered bread to the grocery stores. And it was hard for like the first year trying to figure out like the trends of like how how many hot dog buns should I order for the 4th of July weekend? Right.
Yeah.
Like because the stores get mad at you if you run out. So like that part of it was difficult for about a year. And then after about a year, you kind of figured it all out. And then it was like automated and it got boring. And I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And some days I remember driving home and I'm like, am I really going to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And then I was forced out because I wasn't like adventurous enough. So I just got laid off. They're like, hey, we're cutting routes and you're gone. And so then I had to find something else to do. And I found insurance, but insurance, you never get that point. You're never going to get, if you like the, if you're the kind of person who would be happy working on an assembly line, you would not be happy in insurance.
No, because it's different every day.
Yep.
And it's interesting. I'll walk into I'll walk into the office some days and I have nothing on my calendar. And there's no day it ever doesn't get filled up.
Yeah.
You know,
like, you never like go, I had nothing to do today all day. I just sat there and played Tetris.
Yeah. Got my Super Nintendo in the corner.
Yeah.
But no, it's one of those deals where it's a great industry and there's a lot of opportunity in it. I think the cool thing about insurance is there's a different role for everyone. I mean, we have people on our team that are extremely outgoing, boisterous. They're the extroverts, and we have people who are super administrative, detail oriented. And there's different roles in the agency. There's different roles on the carrier side.
Yep.
There's a different role on the adjuster side, and then you start thinking about all the industries around that are created out of the insurance industry. You know, a good friend of both of ours, Sam Roth, right? Service Master, the restoration guys that come in and help with that. Like Sam and his team are awesome. And so those are, there's different, there's so many ways that you can go with it. And yet you're not beholden to a interest rate like you are in the mortgage industry or the real estate industry. You're not beholden to the retail industry where it depends on the economy. It's a need versus a want. Everyone has to have insurance. Businesses need to have it. The states require it. Mortgages require it. And so you talk about, a downturn in the economy. People in our industry, we're pretty lucky. And I don't think we recognize that and take that for we don't have I think we just take it for granted, right? And just being grateful for an industry that's extremely stable. And too, like the average insurance agency owner is like 57, 58 years old right now. And so there's a lot of people getting out of it. And it's a great opportunity for young people coming in to get involved in some sort of way. And a lot of times they're pretty good paying jobs and they can take care of you and you can grow to that point, right?
Right.
Whether you're in sales or an account manager or an underwriter or a sales rep for a carrier, there's lots of opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think something that I thought was interesting when I started, there was a lot of agents I talked to and they said, give it 5 years. They're like, it sucks for the first 5 years. And there was times, I tell this story. I don't know if I've ever shared this story with you, but I tell my kids this story all the time. There was times when I first started, I went to the dollar store and I was buying like cards to go hand out to my, business partners that I was trying to build relationships with in my first, I think I was in year 1, year 2, somewhere in there. And it was the middle of winter and I couldn't afford chapstick, right? Like that's how broke I was. Yeah. And I was, but the cool part, I always have chapstick in my pocket now as a reminder, because when I was walking out to my car and I was just feeling down, I was like, God, like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Like, what have I done to my family? And there was a package of chapstick in the snow by my car that was unopened. Like that was just there. And I was like, it felt like God saw me in that moment.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I got you. I'm taking care of you. And so chapstick, like, this is weird. Like chapstick is like a thing for me. My kids every year for Christmas, I give everyone a thing of chapstick because it's a reminder God takes care of us. God provides for us. Mm-hmm. But that first 5 years was super hard. And I was really broke for a lot of times, but now it's true. It gets easier over time. So it's not something that insurance is not something I tell people, if you want to get into something that you're going to just like make a ton of money right away, insurance isn't that thing.
We always tell people especially if they're coming on the sales side, can you be really poor for 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
If you're going to be in commercial sales.
Yeah.
But if you stick with it and you grind and you're disciplined, you will make a very good living.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah. There's
and it's really
lots of opportunity.
And it's up to you. Some people
Yep.
get in sales and they hit this mark. They're like, that's enough. I want to coast a little bit and I just want to take care of my clients really, really well. That's fine. There's other people too. They have all these big goals and things like that. But
yeah, there's just tons of opportunity in it. And I think that's the part of the, but with that opportunity for people who are looking at getting into insurance, you do have to recognize, to your point, you got to be willing to be poor for a little while.
Yeah.
And that you're going to have to grind and you don't make a lot of money for it. And you could make more money probably doing, there was times throughout the beginning of my career, I would have made more money if I worked at Burger King.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could have made more money just working a minimum wage job at a fast food restaurant. Long term, it was definitely a better career decision than going to Burger King. Short term, though, you have to be willing to accept that pain.
Well, it also depends too. What are you stepping into? Are you stepping into a place like right now, like Caleb, who oversees our commercial sales? He's got a whole list of leads. He's got a system for our young producers that come in. And we have interns now too that will come in and do some stuff behind the scenes. And so they get a feel for it. So if they do want to flip that switch after college, they kind of know how it works a little bit and hits the ground running. And I just like when I started, probably similar to you, here's a phone book, figure it out. Like,
dial for dollars.
Yeah. And so, where I think technology has changed some of that now, but it's like anything, if you put your mind to it, and right now, I think just in society in general, people just want someone who will actually care. And so if you show up and you show that you care, it'll go a long ways.
For 100%. I agree. So, I tell my kids that all the time, like, if you're just willing to show up and work hard, you will be fine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, cool.